The last 20 years, the Santa Fe has been many vehicles to many people, from an entry-level cheap SUV, a 5-passenger SUV, to a 7-passenger SUV. It has been a hybrid SUV. And yes, I said 20 years. The 2021 is the 20th year of the Santa Fe. For 2021, all Santa Fe's are only the 5-passenger setup. You only get 2 rows and not 3. If you're looking for a 3-row SUV made by Hyundai, you have to jump into that new Palisade. But this 2021 is a redesign of the 4th generation Santa Fe. We'll talk all about what's new on the inside as well as the outside. We'll take it for a drive, talk about this hybrid powertrain in this one. So let's get into it. All right, guys, and before we get into the specifics of this vehicle here, let's talk about the different models and trims of the Santa Fe. So you do have a gas-powered Santa Fe that essentially is just your basic setup. You also have a hybrid Santa Fe, which is what we're driving here. And coming soon, you're gonna have a plug-in hybrid Santa Fe, which is a really cool addition to the lineup. As far as trims go, let's talk about this hybrid here. The hybrid is offered in a blue as the base trim. You have an SEL Premium and a limited trim, which is the top of the line you can get with the hybrid, and that's what we have here. Now, if you're looking at the full gas-powered Santa Fe, you can get a new top trim with that one that is the calligraphy edition, but that trim is not offered in the hybrid as of right now. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the exterior design and see what's updated here for 2021. All right, guys, and for the 2021, we do have a facelifted design here. Hyundai does say that this new Santa Fe is built on a newer platform, but it is still the 4th generation. We have new T-shaped LED headlights with a bunch of design into those headlights. The headlights are up there on the front of the grille, and the top ones are your DRLs and turn signals. We have the new and wider cascading grille. This one is decked out in chrome and emphasizes the pushed up hood and a little bit more of a boxy feel to the whole design. Of course, we got that brushed aluminum look for your trimming underneath the grille there and for your lower splitter, and some vents going into the wheel wells. Moving along the side of the vehicle, we have power folding side mirrors, and these do power fold on lock, which is a great feature in my mind, especially for SUVs where parking can be tight. You have a keyless entry system, so you can walk up to the handle, grab it, it'll unlock. You can swipe your finger across the handle and it will lock up. Our wheels here are 19-inch alloy wheels with 235/55 R19 Continental tires, and they are all season tires. And with the all-wheel drive that we get on this vehicle, they do handle the road pretty well as doing some light off-roading. Obviously, it's not meant to be an off-roading vehicle, but we'll get more into that as we take it for a drive. Moving around to the rear of the vehicle, you do have the new revised LED strip across the back here. We do have LED taillights that are similar in style to the new Elantra that we have looked at. We have wider wheel arches to accommodate even bigger tires than before, which again is helpful with that all-wheel drive system. And while we're looking at the exterior here, let's talk about the full dimensions of this thing. It has a 108.9-inch wheelbase. Total length is 188.4 inches. Total width is 74.8 inches. And your total height here is 67.3 inches. So one of the cool features with a lot of which I've showed on this channel before, but it's usually been somebody demonstrating it to me, not me actually using it. This is the first one that I've gotten with the feature actually in there, and that's the remote parking assist. So we do have the key here with the parking feature on it, so we can go ahead and move it in and out of the parking spot with using the key. So first we're going to go ahead and start it from the key. All right, it made some noises and flashed the lights. It should be started. Now let's try to reverse it out of the spot. and it stopped by itself, so it knows it's out. Let's pull it back in. And again, there's no other cars around, but we do have this pole, so I'm just holding it down. Let's see if it stops before it hits the pole. So you definitely have to be closer to it as you do this, but it's going, it's going. It should stop itself. All right, and there we go. It's fully parked into the parking spot, just with the remote. And then if we lock it, and turn it off. Now, is it gimmicky? That's your call, I guess. I haven't used it the entire time that I've been driving the car, but I can see how it could be useful in certain circumstances, especially with a larger SUV like this, and especially if you do a lot of city parking where parking lots can be a lot more cramped. But with that, let's continue on. All right, and with that, let's pop open this hatch and talk a little bit about the cargo volume and the trunk space that you have in this. It is a power lifting hatch, and of course, not having that third row in here does increase the cargo volume that you get in here. It makes it easier to have more cubbies and space for stuff. Total, you do have 36.4 cubic feet of cargo volume behind that second row. Obviously, that's a 60-40 split rear seat. You can fold it down, and then you get 72.1 cubic feet of cargo volume. And here in this hybrid, you do have buttons in the rear to fold those rear seats down, so you don't have to open up those doors to make that happen. And you do have a bunch of little cubbies here and there for storing stuff, to keep stuff organized. But enough with the cargo volume. Let's pop that hood, check out the engine under the hood, and then we'll move inside and start talking about the interior. All right, and the first thing you should notice is, yes, this is a hybrid, and it's definitely obvious here that this is a hybrid system. Not only is it a hybrid system, it's actually the first hybrid system that Hyundai has put with an all-wheel drive vehicle, which is one of the reasons that we went and drove it in California at Hyundai's proving grounds. Again, we'll get into some of that footage a little bit later. Let's talk about the specs of this thing. So it's a 1.6 liter turbocharged GDI 4-cylinder hybrid engine. The gas engine puts out 178 horsepower, 195 foot-pounds of torque. Then you have a 44.2 kilowatts, 59 horsepower electric output motor. So combined, you're looking at about 226 horsepower. All that's matched up to the H-Track all-wheel drive 6-speed automatic Shiftronic transmission. And again, it's a pretty stout setup. If you're not looking at the hybrid vehicle, you just want the gas vehicle, you can get the base vehicle with a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated engine. That comes in at 191 horsepower. Or when you step up to the higher trim levels, you can get a 2.5 liter turbocharged gas engine. And this is Hyundai's new SmartStream engine. First time it's being put into a Santa Fe. And that has 281 horsepower, 311 foot-pounds of torque. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump inside. We'll take a look at that second row first, then we'll jump into the front seats, take a look at the interior, all the tech, then we'll take it for a drive. All right guys, we're here in the rear seats of the Santa Fe, and as far as SUVs go, it is not a bad place to be. These seats do move forward and back. Of course, pushing them back as far as possible is going to give you the most leg room. They do also lean forward and lean back, so you can get you a little bit more headroom if that's an issue, but it's really not that much of an issue. We've got plenty of headroom. Of course, we do have this panoramic sunroof, which will open up here in a bit when we're in the front, but we also have plenty of foot and knee room behind the passenger seat here. And of course, we've got a lot of nice little amenities. The materials back here are not skimped out on. They're pretty nice. We do have a pull down armrest with cup holders. That's pretty nice. You have a little shade here for the window, which I enjoy. They are heated seats back here, which again is a nice little luxury touch. You also have your own AC vents. You have two USB charging ports and a 115-volt socket here. And overall, rear seats, not a bad place to be. Of course, throughout the time, we've driven this as a family and had it packed full with 5 people and no complaints at all. With that, let's move into the front seat. We'll take a look at more of the interior. We'll talk about the tech, and then we'll take it for a drive. All right, guys, and we're up here in the front seat now, and let's talk about this interior a bit. You do have a mocha brown interior with black and carbon fiber accents. And these seats are really incredible. You've got this quilted stitched pattern up here in the top. You have perforated leather in the backs and the bottom. You have nice contrasting stitching here on the sides. Really a lot of attention to detail with these seats. And that carries through the rest of the cabin as well. We do have that carbon fiber like trim that looks pretty good. The speaker grills have this wavy pattern in them that looks really cool. And just this whole dark brown, black, and mocha motif I think looks really good in vehicles and gives them this premium look. We also have this headliner here coming down through the pillars. That's this nice cloth material. I do quite like it. And again, we've got this large panoramic sunroof. The seats that we're in are power adjustable, very nice and comfortable. They're also heated and cooled up here in the front. So all around, just a lot of great materials and comfort. But let me pick you guys up and give you a better tour around the interior and look at some of the tech here. All right, again, so we have those speaker grills, the nice dark brown and mocha motif. We've got this shelf right here, which is great for the passengers. Obviously a nice big glove box. Coming over to our infotainment system, it is a 10.25-inch touchscreen display, and it's a nice look, very responsive. Of course, nothing too much different than other recent Hyundais that we've driven, which is a good thing, of course. You do get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto built in. It's just a nice system to have. And as you can see here at the bottom, it is a Harman Kardon premium audio system, which does sound really good here in this vehicle. Moving down from there, we do have our audio interface buttons, as well as your volume control. Then you get your climate control buttons here, and then our shift-by-wire gear select here. If we put it in reverse, you can see our 360 camera, and we've got guidelines there as you turn the wheel. The big dial in the center is for your drive modes, and you can lock that center diff. You've got an auto hold, you have a heated steering wheel, you have hill descent control, parking sensors, and a button to automatically turn on that camera. And then of course some buttons here for your heated and ventilated seats. Back further is your USB connector with a cup holder. You got another cup holder here. And this right here is a little pocket for your phone, but it's also a wireless charger. So as it sits in there, it will wirelessly charge. And because it's got this little flap here, it keeps it nice and secure. It doesn't slide around a lot, and it stays charging relatively well. And then we have our center console that's deep and works just fine. No extra connectivity in there, but a nice pad as well for your armrest. Moving on to the steering wheel, it is a leather wrapped steering wheel, obviously, with all your driver controls here. You do have paddle shifters, which I basically never touched during the entire week. And back behind that steering wheel is Hyundai's 12.3-inch fully digital gauge cluster. And I really do like this thing. As you switch between drive modes and stuff, it will change its look. You can also get other types of information here in the center, depending on what you select here. And it does give you a lot of cool information as you're driving, which I think we should go ahead and do. Let's get this thing into gear. Let's take it out on the road, take it for a drive, test out some of the driving tech that we have here, because it does have good driving tech. I'll show you some clips of it off-road. And then after that, we'll talk a little bit about the competition out there, the price of this thing, and we'll wrap up with some of my final thoughts. Let's keep going. All right, guys, so first it is a push button start. Powering it on, you get some cool animations there. Putting it into gear is a push of a button, obviously, and let's take off. So like I said, the driver's seat is comfortable. It is a nice place to be. The driving position is comfortable. The steering wheel can telescope out, can tilt up and down to get you into a comfortable position. And the suspension is nice and smooth. So driving this thing for a long period, no problems at all, especially if you got the help of some of your tech. One of the bigger issues or annoyances that I've had through my week of driving this thing is some of the hybrid start-stop switching system. It's very jerky at some points. You don't get a lot of low-end power, so getting up and going from a dead stop or a lot of stop and go traffic is a little bit more annoying in this than other hybrids that I've driven, and definitely way more annoying than a fully electric or fully gas vehicle. And I drove it for the most part in the Eco drive mode. So we do have a couple of different drive modes. We have the Eco, we have Smart, which I'm still not 100% sure exactly what Smart does different. But we also have Sport, which definitely opens this thing up and makes it a little bit more sporty, but I don't want to drive a hybrid in sport mode all the time. We also have Snow mode, which obviously sets that traction control at a better setting for snow and ice. But for the most part, I've kept it in Eco mode, which is basically the normal mode for this vehicle, and it is a bit herky-jerky at times. It's hard to get the power to get up and go. But that's not saying once you do get up and go, it's a bad driving vehicle. The feel of the drive is good in this thing. You do have that traditional 6-speed automatic gearbox, not a CVT, so you do get some of that low end power and that nice pull out of the corners if you're already in a good RPM. That H-Track all-wheel drive system in a hybrid is a cool thing to have. We did go out on Hyundai's testing facility in California at the beginning of this year and test that out with them. I'll put some clips of that here. But that was a lot of fun. It shows off a little bit of the power of this thing. Obviously, it's not a rock crawler. We did go up some pretty steep grades there, but you really got to give it the gas to get up there, and there were a few times that it did slip up, but for the most part I'm pretty happy with its performance there. If you're taking this thing into the mountains or something and you need to really push it up a hill, it can do it. Obviously, it's a hybrid. Fuel economy is really good. The EPA rates the MPGs here at 33 city and 30 highway with 32 combined. You might be able to see now that we've been averaging 30.7 miles to the gallon during our full week with this thing. And that's with letting it idle a lot more than normal because we're taking pictures and video throughout the week, things like that. Also pushing it a little bit harder, testing out that sport mode and stuff. But I think for this size of SUV, that's a good number. You do get cool tech like the turn signal blind spot monitoring system being in your gauge cluster there. That's cool. And obviously you get the same driving assist features that a lot of other Hyundais have. And we put out a whole video on just the driving assist for Hyundai and some of the tech that they have behind that, driving a couple of different vehicles that they have, including the Nexo, the Elantra, the Sonata, but it's in this as well. So let's get up on the highway here. Let's get up to speed. We'll turn the cruise control on. We'll turn our steering on. And our radar guided cruise control, we'll set it to a certain distance, and we're cruising. No hands on the steering wheel. Obviously, it will tell you at a certain point you need to have your hands on the wheel, but you don't have to. It will regulate the distance in front of you. It will turn for you, keep you in the lanes. It's one of the best systems that's out there outside of Tesla's more fully automated system. So this won't like switch lanes for you. You can't program it to take off ramps for you and stuff like that. But if you're just cruising in one lane, you want to keep behind somebody and you want to just keep in the lanes, it will get you down the road quite a ways before any interruptions. So if you do a lot of road trips, a lot of highway driving, this is definitely a vehicle, or any of the Hyundais that have this system are definitely vehicles worth looking into. So all in all, again, it is a nice driving vehicle. It's a nice riding vehicle. My only slight complaint really is the powertrain and some of the start-stop features in here. If you do a lot of city driving or start-stop driving, it can get annoying. At least it has for me during this week. But if you test drive it and that doesn't annoy you, doesn't bother you at all, then by all means, this is a great vehicle. With that, let's find a place to pull back over. We'll talk about the price and competition with this vehicle. Then I'll give you some of my final thoughts and we'll wrap the video up there. But let's keep this thing rolling. All right, guys, now that we got that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about the price and competition out there for the Santa Fe. First, referring back to the trim levels. So for the Santa Fe Hybrid itself, the blue trim, the base trim, is $33,650. The SEL Premium base is at $37,600, and this Limited base is at $39,950. Pretty decent prices for a good size hybrid SUV, and with all the tech that you get in here, I think that's really good. If you're looking at vehicles that compete with this, you can look at the Toyota Venza, the Honda Passport, the Kia Sorento. You have the Honda CR-V Hybrid, the RAV4 Hybrid, and there are plenty more. This is a pretty crowded segment. At the end of the day, a lot of these are really great vehicles, so it kind of depends on exactly what you're looking for and the brand. But I would say that the Hyundais and Kias are crushing it with interior and tech and design. But let me jump out. I'll give you some of my final thoughts outside and we'll wrap the video up there. Let's go. All right, so at the end of a full week of driving the Santa Fe Hybrid, what are some of my final thoughts here? Well, first off, I wasn't quite as impressed as I thought I would be after a full week. The hybrid powertrain, I just don't think hits the mark for me. I would love to drive the new 2.5 turbo in this vehicle, but also I'm a bit sad that they're not offering a 3-row option in the Santa Fe any longer. I understand why. I just think it was a great addition for small families looking to get into something even more cheaper than stepping up to a big Palisade. But if you do have a family large enough for a 3-row, that Palisade is probably the better bet anyways. So I love the new styling. I love all the tech in it. The interior was amazing. My only really slight gripe here was with the driving itself, the powertrain. It's amazing that you have the hybrid with the all-wheel drive system and everything works together well. It's just not there for me. So with that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about this new Santa Fe, especially this hybrid all-wheel drive model. Subscribe to the channel if you're into automotive reviews. We do a review every week here on this channel. Also go check out TXGARAGE.com where we do a lot of written reviews as well as event and news coverage from a lot of different authors there. But with that, again, thanks for watching.